Community member Marvin asked a question. He asked a two-parter in our Discord. The first part was Dice Shame always going to be D&D? And part two was, did we always want to go for the comic approach, or was the gritty campaign setting an option?
We came up with the idea for Dice Shame, I believe, when the three of us were driving home
You, me, and
from
Justin.
Gen Con.
On the way to Gen Con.
On the way to Gen Con.
Yeah.
And we knew that we wanted to do a more, like, edited podcast product.
I think we were all getting a bit burnt out from, like, 3-hour-long shows that were very, like,
we were doing a ton of one-shots, like, over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so we were sort of tossing two different ideas around. We weren't sure whether we wanted to do a Call of Cthulhu game or a D&D game.
Those
Obviously,
are the big two decisions.
Harlan was going to be the GM for Call of Cthulhu, and then I was going to be the DM for Dungeons and Dragons. And yeah, we weren't really sure which one we wanted to go with.
I think we ended on D&D because of the accessibility. Mm-hmm. We decided that it was going to be easier for people to sort of give us widespread appeal.
And the pre-published adventures were appealing because...
Well, it's funny because we did have sort of differing opinions about that. Might as well film me for this because you...
I look so tired.
You don't look tired at all. The real question that we had to decide was, do we want to do a pre-published adventure or a written campaign? Joe had some really good arguments for a pre-written adventure, which were something that I was probably the biggest holdout on, frankly. I was kind of like, well, you know, da-da-da-da. But now I wouldn't have wanted to do it any other way. Because A, I think there's a great argument for people who are playing it and want to see how it's played and compare and contrast and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, more importantly, there are just so many homebrew campaigns out there that, frankly, unless you are a published author that has like years of experience, you're just not going to match those. So do it from a different angle. Yeah. To answer your second question, was it always going to be comical and gritty? I think that was entirely dependent on who is playing.
Mm-hmm. If it was going to be Call of Cthulhu, then obviously it would have been a lot more gritty.
Even for D&D, I think like it was character deciding, because Red, you know, I was like, well, he'll be funny. Alex probably would have played it would, put it this way, I'll say this, it was not a decision that was made, it's something that evolved naturally. Mm-hmm. I think we said we wanted to encapsulate our people and we wanted to be light about it, but I don't think we ever specifically said we wanted to be comical or funny. And then when Chris got swapped out last minute, frankly, I think that added a lot to the humor. Because Chris is funny, but he always plays very heavy, dark.
Well, but also you could argue that Rob is someone who's really heavy into the D&D lore and was taking the game really seriously.
That's true, but Rob is also one of the funniest people.
God, he's funny.
On the cutting room floor. No joke. Like, Rob is absolutely hilarious in the things he says.
As Rob, not as Jack.
No, Jack's not funny at all. He's a little bit. But Rob is actually, and Rob can't see this, but Rob is actually probably the funniest person on Dice Shame, which I hate. Anyway, there's an answer to your question.
Thank you, Marvin.